have a very complicated relationship with rules. On the one hand, I need rules to provide structure and to give me direction and purpose and make me feel like I'm doing something the right way. But on the other hand, I hate being told what to do, and an automatic no will well up inside of me if I sense a demand to do something, even if I actually wanted to do that thing. Remember when teachers would assign reading and you'd hate every minute of it, but you know that if you'd found that book on the library shelf, you probably would have loved it? This is a very complicated, common comorbidity with ADHD called PDA, pathological demand avoidance. It is extremely annoying and totally uncontrollable. You will often hear people comment that ADHD brains are especially creative, that they naturally think outside the box and will come up with solutions to problems that nobody else thinks of. I do think that can be true. I just know that in my own experience, it requires a certain level of freedom that I don't find often present. In my life, I've had a lot of trouble thinking outside the box, but not because I can't. It's because I don't feel I have permission to. If I perceive that there's a right way of doing something, all I want to do is follow the directions perfectly and do it the right way because I'm terrified that I will mess the whole thing up. And when I mess something up, all the dark thoughts start creeping in, telling me that I always mess things up, that I'm really no good as a person, that I've never done anything worth anything ever. So if there is a right way, I tend to want to do it that way to avoid this doom spiral. Unless I perceive that the rules are stupid. And then, inconceivably, I will do everything I possibly can to do it my own way. And this is the very frustrating dichotomy that PDA introduces that makes things very difficult to navigate. Now, I have been watching Andrew Huang's YouTube channel for years now, and not only do I think he's an absolutely incredible musician, it's his uniqueness that made me subscribe. It never felt like he was trying to sell me anything or teach me the worn-out industry standard methods, and he was clearly so talented and creative. And so when I saw that he had written a book, I was already on board, but when I saw the title, there was no way I wasn't buying it. And what better way to honor the spirit of this autobiography than to draw on the cover? I have never, ever in my entire life had any compulsion to draw on a book. And like I said before, I don't really venture outside the lines unless I'm given permission to do it. And there's something about this cream-colored canvas cover that is begging me to draw on it. But it was the title of the book and the spirit of Andrew's story that gave me permission to do it. I needed that permission. Without it, I am very certain that the thought to draw on this book would never have occurred to me. And that is the difficulty of ADHD creativity, for me at least. If that permission is not perceived, my experience is that the ADHD person will try their best to follow the rules. Exactly. And should someone point out that there was another way to do it, especially if that other way is being presented now as the right way, the ADHD person will get very, very mad because they didn't know they were allowed to do that. They didn't know that part of the game was to break the rules. Because how do you navigate a life when in some circumstances you must follow the rules exactly or you'll get in trouble? But in other circumstances, breaking the rules is praised. How do you determine when your creativity will be accepted and when it will be punished? How do you know when your rebellious nature will lead to opportunities or when it will lead to closed doors? This is something that constantly frustrates me, and I don't have an answer to that question. But in this moment, wanting to draw on the cover of a book and just doing it, I feel like Andrew would be so proud. I feel like I'm learning how to be brave and trust my instincts more. And in addition to that, I'm getting a very satisfying dopamine hit from the fact that there's a dust jacket that will go over the cover of this book, because now the book and I have a secret. And there's something very cool about that. This book will be sitting on my shelf, and only I know that there's a pair of headphones drawn on the cover. So thank you, Andrew, for sharing your story. I was literally weeping in the first section as you were describing your childhood and your parents, and gosh, lots of big feelings. But I'm so, so grateful to have this in my hands, to hear your story from your own mouth, and you are teaching me how to be brave. And I am so incredibly grateful for that.